Good morning and welcome to the Mines and Money China Mining panel. We have a fantastic group of panelists here to get into all the nitty-gritty and all the details of what is the main issues driving in China's mining at the moment. We're going to be looking at a bit of what's happening in the domestic market, but also what are the Chinese miners looking for internationally? Where do they see the opportunities? What are the problems? What are they seeking most out of their investments at the moment? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our panel, and we'll start with George Fang, who is the executive chairman of Zhejiang Huayou Cobalt. Also joining us is Greg Pan, who is the president and CEO of the Hangling Industrial Group, which I believe do quite a lot in iron, nickel, and even some gold. Maggie Huang, who is a general manager of Gold Mountains International Mining, which is the offshore arm of Zijin Mining. And finally, Peter Arkell, who's a chairman of the Global Mining Association of China. And I thought the best way to actually sort of start a panel discussion like this is just to basically go around the panelists, get them to introduce themselves and their companies, and basically talk a little bit about what are they doing at the moment, where are they seeing the opportunities, from just a perspective from how they are looking at the market in which they operate. So I think let's start with George, just to see how you can talk to us about what your company is doing and how you're feeling about Cobalt.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good time to see you, ladies and gentlemen, again in the Metals Mining platform. This is George Fang from Zhejiang, Huayou. So I'm very happy sitting together with our friends and ex-colleagues, Mr. Pan, Greg, and Maggie, especially Peter. Yeah. Our old friends. So, Zhejiang Huayou Cobalt, it's a high-tech company to focus on research and development and production of cathode materials and precastles. That is for the material for the battery. EV battery industry. So, but Huayou do the production, R&D and production from the a special, quite unique vertical integrated value chain from very beginning, mining to the refinery, to precursor, to cathode material production, and also we do battery recycling business as well. So Huayou's major client in this business is batteries producer and EV clients. So our in terms of the battery, we got two kinds of battery client. One is for ternary precursor and ternary cathode materials. That's for EV industry. Another one is Cobalt. Cobalt materials, that's for the 3C customers. So that's what we do. And during the past years, for example, 1 or 2 years, I already joined Huayou 1.5 years. So during the past 1.5 years, what we did is 3 things. First thing is we focus on our research and development of cathode materials, EV materials. We are very much want to be a significant supplier of EV materials globally. And second is we improve our capability to provide high quality products and also with reasonable low cost. The third one is what we did is resources development globally. You know, Huayou mainly focus on EV metals resources development. Nowadays, what we have and what we will do is we've got copper and cobalt mining operation in DRC, and nickel and cobalt mining and smelting operation in Indonesia, and also lithium resources development activity in both Argentina of South America and DRC. So that's what we already did. Well, nowadays we got a quite good capacity in terms of nickel, cobalt, copper, and also lithium production is nowadays is on the way. So that's in the future. So I cannot say future in the coming 3 to 5 years. We will enhance our resources development and marketing development, and also our fabricating capacity. Mainly, we pay a lot of attention to 3 things when we do business. First is a green policy. Nowadays, nowadays is the great time for the energy transforming. We say energy revolution from the original energy, for example, carbon extensive energy, to new energy. During this time, during this years, what we need to do is try to be one of the participants to develop our EV battery efforts. And second, what we did is pay a lot of attention to carbon emission reduction, and towards the target of neutralization. And also,
Thanks,
yeah, that's the second. The third one is what we did is to pay a lot of attention to ESG to get a better shape of the company, to be recognized, globally recognized in the industry. Thank you.
Thanks, George. It seems very much that your company is extremely well positioned to sort of participate in the energy transition. You know, cobalt, nickel, all the things that you're going to need. I will come back to you to talk about how you look at new investments and things like that. But I think let's move on to Maggie. Again, a very interesting company, very big domestic mining operations, and your parent company. I know you look more offshore, so perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what you're looking at the moment, what investment opportunities you're seeing.
Sure. So my name is Maggie Huang from Zijin Mining. I'm currently the general manager of Gold Mountain International Mining, which is the offshore arm of Zijin Mining. Currently, Zijin has investment projects in 12 different countries outside of China, besides our operations in 14 provinces within PRC, within China. So the role of Gold Mountain is basically the holding and investment company arm of the corporate. So Zijin Mining, we focus on 3 commodities: it's gold, copper, and zinc. And we have some other minerals as well, however, not as significant. So with our major focus commodities, we're actually currently by production the largest gold producer, and largest copper producer, and largest zinc producer in China. The company was founded 20-something years ago, and we were public in Hong Kong in 2003, and we got dual listed on Shanghai Stock Exchange in 2008. We currently have a market cap roughly around like $300 to $400 billion. Currently, you know, as George said, at Zijin Mining, you know, like we also want to be a responsible mining company. So in the current years, we have been making a lot of efforts on ESG. So we are looking to increase our ESG rating, you know, like within 2 years to a much higher level. And at the same time, during the past 5 years, we have acquired a good number of projects. Like we have acquired 10 projects outside of China, and these 2 years we are investing in a lot of capex in order to make these projects into production as soon as possible. Within this year, we actually have, last year we have Continental Gold, which is Politica in Colombia, got into production. And this year we have our Guyana Goldfield and also Kamoa got into production. This year we also having, like starting our phase 2 construction in Kamoa, and also, like we just completed our construction in Timok. So these are what we are doing very currently, besides, all the other things. And in the near future, we are still, quite actively looking for opportunities outside of China, as we see, like copper as a highly strategic metal for China. We are the largest consumer in the world. We consume half of the output of copper. However, we would produce only 20 to 25% of what we actually use in China. So in in the near future, that's going to continue being our focus. Copper is going to continue being one of our focus. Gold as well, and as well as zinc. I guess that's a brief introduction.
Thank you very much, Maggie. I think it's quite interesting that you zeroed in on what I think is probably the most interesting long-term commodity at the moment, which is copper. So I think we'll probably want to talk a little bit about that later on in the panel. Let's get a slightly different perspective and go to Peter and ask him, as a mining association person, how are you viewing the industry at the moment? What are you seeing as the investment opportunities, and what are your members telling you?
Well, thank you, Clyde, and good morning to everybody. Perhaps I could tell people first what GMAC is, with the Global Mining Association of China. It is the representative body of the mining community, the broad mining community in China. So it is not only miners, but it's also the Mets and the lawyers and bankers, and even in my case, I have a headhunting company. So we have a broad scope of members that are part of GMAC. And in fact, GMAC has changed over the years. GMAC representing that broad sweep of companies today is very different to what it was when we first formed. In those days, it was formed when China was very open to exploration, and we had just about every mining company, certainly the larger ones, and some very small mini companies that were doing exploration in China. We had something like 400 projects that were being conducted in China by international companies doing exploration, and today we've got less than a handful. So it's a much different scene for the international mining community here today, and the companies that are here are either selling material into China or wanting to partner with Chinese companies as they do business here in China and as they go abroad. By the way, if any of the people that are participating in our discussion today happen to be visiting China, we do meet regularly, usually in Beijing, and usually on the second last Thursday of the month. So always visitors are welcome to come and hear and meet people like George and Maggie in person and learn more from the Chinese side. So you asked me what our members are seeing, Clyde, and it's interesting you mentioned copper. We had a discussion only last week from the International Copper Alliance, International Copper Association, beg your pardon, on copper, and its part in the drive towards carbon neutral world that China is very actively pursuing. So our members are really interested in that side of things. We've had steel. We've looked at how we can help Chinese companies to become more productive, how we can help them to be greener, as George talked about, and ESG. So lots of our companies are interested in partnering with Chinese companies here in China and potentially going abroad. And that could be the big companies such as the majors, where we've got a couple of very interesting projects where they're doing some work inside China with some large Chinese enterprises, and some very small ones. And it's a vibrant community which is wanting to see more cooperation between China and the global industry.
I think that was also, you raised some very interesting issues as well on just how easy it is to do business now. And I think we'll have to have a little bit of a chat of that. But I certainly didn't want to leave somebody to last. I'll view it as lucky last. But Greg, perhaps you can come on board and tell us a little bit about what Hanking Industrial Group is doing and where you're seeing the opportunities at the moment.
Sure. Thank you, Clyde. Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Pan in Hanking Group. I'm very happy to be in this panel and chat a little bit of the mining industries. Hanking Group, we established over 30 years ago in Fushun, China. We are a diversified company. We are engaging in the mining, steels, in microelectronics, and precision bearing, and also commercial centers. So in the mining sector, we have operating mines in iron ore, gold, nickel in China, Australia, and Indonesia. We have also explored, other regions, other opportunities in Southeast Asia, Africa, and also CIM countries. So Hanking has been one of the largest private iron ore mining companies in Northeast China. We produce very high-grade iron ore concentrates with ultra-low, impurities. Hanking started its international expansions not very long ago, just about over a decade ago. We have successfully expanded our businesses into international markets through acquisitions, development, and operations. And we acquired PGO in Australia about 3 years ago and developed it to a multi-million ounces gold asset in Australia after we successfully completed a cycle of 1,000 crores gold asset from acquisition, development, operations, and sales. So we own a world-class nickel asset. That's the laterite in the nickel resource in Indonesia with very large resource base. We are now working on the construction and metallurgical processing facilities, and also engaging in the green operations. So all in Hanking's strategic direction is to continue focusing on the mining sector, particularly in large metal commodities and metals related to the EV batteries. Hanking also continue to seek acquisitions opportunities outside of China. And we also try to grow our businesses in very good jurisdiction regions. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. It seems, so far we've got quite a common theme coming out from our mining companies here is you're all looking still to do quite a lot of investment and business overseas. So I'll go back to George. I mean, your company operates in probably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult jurisdictions in the world. I'm talking about the Congo. I mean, that must be incredibly difficult, but still, yourself and a couple of other companies like Glencore have put a lot of effort and a lot of investment into working in what is an extremely challenging environment. Is this because you really need that resource and that's where the resources are and you will go where the resources are and deal with the other problems? Or, well, I mean, what's your thinking? How do you actually get to the point of saying, we're going to put a lot of money into a country that is fundamentally, how can I put this, a challenging place to be? How do you get around that?
Thank you. Very good question. I would like to say a few points. First, we don't see DRC is a really difficult country. For mining operation, no easy country. Almost. Do you think Australia is easy? United States is easy? Canada is easy, actually. Life is easy. Mining operation is not easy. So in that case, DRC is to the mining operation. We believe, not only Huayou, but also I believe the Zijin mining Maggie maybe show me the same view. And also we got some friends and colleagues and partners, for example, Colle, or even originally we have Fifield. Nowadays it's changed to China Morley. So DRC have their own situation, pros and cons. And for the in the advantage point, DRC have 3 advantages, very important advantage for Chinese companies. First is Chinese standards can be used in DRC. If we set up operation in North America or Europe or some other country, even in Central Asia, we need to change our Chinese standardized to the local standardized. That's painful, money and time. So this first advantage. Second, in DRC, we have very interesting feeling. We believe, even with DRC guys speak French and English, some of the guys can speak part of Chinese, but spiritually, we believe we feel it'd be easy to understand between the people. Sometimes, we don't know, of course, the cultural difference is still there, but we get it a little bit easy to understand each other as a culturally. This and also in that case, when our people pay a lot of attention in the ESG, for example, environmental issues, social issues, and governance issues, that make us not so much difficult to run in a good shape in international standardized and get acceptance from a local community and social society. And also DRC government, the central government, both central government and the provincial government is quite supportive to our operations. For example, during the what we see the pandemic, the COVID-19, DRC, those guys is quite make a lot of efforts. So that's second, we believe, the advantage. The third one is when we do business in DRC, the legal system, for example, mining law, and also the regulation system, it's quite transparent and also easy to communicate. When we see some things, we communicate with the institutions and also our government. We're working together to reach the point. So that's good advantage what we did in DRC. Of course, there are some things we need to try our efforts to overcome. For example, the local things related to the stability. So that's things we believe we need to try something to overcome. Also, the cost is getting increasing, but reasonably okay.
Okay, thank you, George.
So that's what we think about DRC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's interesting that you actually have quite a positive view about it. And you sort of mentioned that there's challenges to operate in any jurisdiction, and I guess that is certainly true. I would like to come back to Maggie, because I know that her company has looked at investments, particularly in Canada. But the other thing is, and I really don't want you to talk about politics on this, but it's a well-known case that the Canadian government as well as the Australian government are currently in disputes with the Chinese government. I'm not going to go into the wheres and whys and hows of that, but does that make life any more difficult? I mean, are you still looking at doing acquisitions or building your business in countries like Canada, or would this dispute be something that you would cause you to walk away?
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, I guess at the moment, no, because like Canada and Australia have always been, these like most mature mining markets. And I guess like for Chinese company, we have like sort of learned our lesson, but it's not, on the political side. During 2007 to 2012, that many Chinese mining companies have done investment like chasing projects in either Canada or Australia for this like very mature mining markets and stable environment and all that. However, investment, it's an investment. So in the end of the day, you have to look at your return of investments. So in recent years, we have like gradually moved into like other regions. I guess now, like for example, you just mentioned DRC, but I guess like the whole Africa or South America, and these continents, they are very rich in mineralizations, and after all, like it might be better investment for many companies.
And I'll just stay with you there, Maggie. Where do you see the most attractive prospects at the moment? I mean, not necessarily country specific, but what minerals do you think are the ones that are going to offer the best long-term returns? I know we've talked about copper. I think gold is probably still something that's on your radar screen, but is there something else that interests your company?
Well, for our company, our main focus, we concentrate on something that we would consider the strategic commodity for China, because we know the Chinese market really well, and as a Chinese company ourselves, being able to secure the supply of this kind of like strategic commodities, it's also a way to ensure the long-term development of the company itself. Because after all, the Chinese market is pretty large already. And indeed. So, yes, I guess like in specifically which commodity, we do what we know the best of, like at the moment, which is gold, copper, and zinc. We think gold and copper both are going to be very promising. And although recently the price have decreased a bit, but overall we think the fundamental have not changed, and we still think it's a very good metal to invest in.
Thanks, Maggie. Perhaps I'll come back to Greg and ask him a similar sort of question. Where do you see the best opportunities at the moment? Obviously you have limited amount of money available for investment, so you're obviously going to target the best, what you see as the best prospects. So what kind of commodities are you looking at, and do you have a country or a regional preference or you prefer just to look at the resource base and target the best resources irrespective of where they are?
Yes, Clyde. Hanking, as I just introduced our company, we are working with iron ore, gold, and nickel at this point. And from the largest single commodity, metal commodity, industrial-wise, iron ore is still very important in a mineral that we are, very, like very much. We continue to look for that opportunity. And also by a single most hot or important industry in minerals, copper. So even, we don't have copper now, but we continue, we also, look for that opportunity too. But from the future, particularly next decade or more, obviously that nickel also very, very critical mineral, which is also very hard mineral in the last few years. And that will continue for the next decade. And particularly with this EV industry and other, green industries grow. And also the carbonate, issues, international communities paying more and more attention to it. So I would say that nickel is very, very important in metal too. So Hanking will continue to search opportunities of iron ore, copper, gold, and copper and nickel. And at the same time, as a matter of fact, we also look for some, graphites, and which also a very important part of the battery materials too. And also investments is not really that big. Usually capex is not that intensive. So overall, I see that as a mining, in the mining, industry in over 30 years, I really feel that the mining company should be diversified in terms of metals. I think you shouldn't focus just in single metal, because every metal has a cycle. And I think you need to offset, or to somehow you mitigate kind of bad times for certain metals, by diversify, build up the in portfolio for the several metals. So that's in pretty much our view. I think we try to continue to search this opportunities. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. Peter, as someone who probably talks to more mining companies than most people would, where are you? What is the sort of message that you get? Where are people wanting to put their money? Where is the next big thing? Or are we just really sticking with the idea that we're having this energy transition and all the things related to that? So your copper, your nickel, your cobalt, your lithium, and a few others. That's where we're going, and that's it.
Well, I wish I was as wise about where the next big things are going to be, as you might have indicated, Clyde. I don't know whether I'm as good as that. I do remember that we had the privilege of having George giving us a talk at a GMAC meeting a couple of months ago, and George declared that nickel was the new gold, which was something that struck me as being something that a wise person with George's experience is something that needs to be taken note of. And I think Greg's right about iron ore. The Chinese demand for steel is continuing to be enormous, and with the particular surge in the price of iron ore at the moment is meaning that the development of West Africa will happen. Something that's been on a slower track than it had been before. There's certainly a lot more interest both here amongst some Chinese companies, but also with foreign companies that are wanting to find Chinese partners to do things. One interesting thing that I've observed, Clyde, was that Western companies now are very interested in the mining practices of the Chinese. How do Chinese develop mines, and to learn. There's this tendency to think that the Chinese want to learn from the Western companies, the large international companies, and learn their practices. But there are now companies wanting to find out how Chinese develop mines and how how they can get things to production much more quickly than what their processes have seen them come into production. I think that's a really interesting trend, you know, to see transfer of technologies and capability between the two different mining industries or mining communities is something I think is going to be benefiting for the industry. And I just think that you know, there's still a lack of appreciation in the West for those that aren't well connected into China and what the capability is here. And you know, for those companies that have woken up to it and are now investigating the ways that they can partner, will find not only you know, that they're willing to be partners in an investment sense, but also in technology and mining practices. And I think that'll be beneficial for those that look down that pathway.
Indeed. I think quite often, particularly people in the West, forget that China's a very major mining country in itself. You know, biggest coal miner, biggest gold miner, for example, and a miner of massive amounts of commodities. We just tend to see them as a buyer of commodities, which indeed they are. But we forget they're also a major producer. We are actually getting a couple of questions from the audience. So there is one for George. Could you please give us some update on your HPAL project in Indonesia? When will that project likely start? That's the straight question, George. I haven't editorialized that as well.
Okay, thank you. So nowadays we have two HPAL, we call it HPAL project is going on. First one is a Huayou project. Huayou project, the major shareholder, the Huayou is 57%. We are majority control. At the same time, we got a partner from Qinshan group and also China Moly. So that's the capacity of Huayou nowadays as designed 60,000 tons nickel content in the products. The products is nickel, cobalt, hydroxide. So at the same time, the cobalt content in the products is around whatever 7,000 to 8,000 tons a year. So nowadays we are in the final stage of construction. The major construction nowadays is almost done. So some equipment will be start to single equipment running and commissioning in the September, October. We will start our commissioning, finish all the construction, start commissioning end of this year. So after the commissioning and also clean up, we will spend somewhere around half to 1 year. We put into production, get the normal operations. So according to current what we did, we are very much confident to say to the market, the capex is lower than the original design. The original design is 1.2, around 1.2 to 1.3 billion, but lower than that one. And also because of COVID-19, so we finish our construction, start commissioning end of this year. If do not have a COVID-19, we can be half year earlier. But nowadays, we are confident we'll put into commissioning end of this year. And this in the construction side, in the technique and operation side, we are already get people ready to training the people, and also from both our existing operation in Zhejiang. We are in Zhejiang, we get HPAL operation already during the past 10 years, and also get people from other sourcing as well, get people ready, get technical guy ready, and to start our production we are getting ready. So in that case, we are quite confident we get a successful operation in HPAR project. This is Huayou. And the second project, we already make an announcement. So a few months ago, during that time, I spent 2 months in Indonesia for various nickel projects. And that one already nowadays in the starting stage of engineering and construction. That one is in the we call it Smoky Island. So that project nowadays we the major shareholders we got 3 guys to be a partner. One is the Qingshan to be our partner, and also we got 1 battery producer to be our partner as well. So we're working together to get a project start construction. The financing is ready, and also the capacity of that HPAR project is around 120,000 tons. That's double the size of Huayou. We call it Huafei. So nowadays it's going on. The major nickel resources for the Huayou is from Sulawesi area, and for the Huafei it's from our Weda Bay area. So at the same time, we got a very good opportunity to meet with our the friends and team from Hang King, from Greg. Today we see your face. We got very much happy. We want to see you face to face. Now I'm in the quarantine in the hotel. When I get out to the hotel, we'll try to find opportunity to see you there. So that's for the HPAR project. So nowadays we are quite positive and have a good shape of the progress. Thank you.
Thanks very much, George. We've only got a few minutes left. There is a question that's come in on what is China's policy on coal? How much is it really weaning itself off thermal coal, and why are they still effectively building more coal-fired power plants? Funnily enough, I actually look quite a lot of coal in the course of what I write about, and it seems to me that the policy seems to be that they're going to keep coal growing coal consumption probably up to about 2030, and then the plan is for it to lower from that point on. But I thought a question I could ask anybody on the panel who's willing to take it is there any interest in coal as an investment perspective, or is that just we don't touch that anymore? Anybody?
Well, Clyde, just to say a few words here. The coal, I don't think that's is really is something that we are going to touch. Particularly China, that these days, China has very determined to be, to reach peak in carbon emission in 2035, and then the neutralize 2060. So they're working very hard on the cutting the carbon emission. So China going to be very tough, in terms of using coals to generate energies. So in either mining company for the long term growth prospect, I think coal is not going to be something that we are going to be focused on.
Thank you. Maggie, any comments on coal from your end?
Well, I think coal is probably still would be quite okay. However, it has never been the focus for Zijin mining. So I don't think we're going to have that as a focus in the near future.
Thank you, Peter. Any people talking coal to you?
Not in terms of looking at investment internationally, Clyde. It's certainly one. I don't think that would be encouraged, and you'd have to make a pretty good case to be making investment abroad. And there's also the domestic coal producers here who that's an industry which is also needing to be wound back a little. So I think there's, politically, it's to invest internationally in coal would be pretty insensitive. Coal is an important mix in the power, important component in the power mix here, and there is a lot of work done on technology to make the coal less carbon intensive, but I think international investment would be really, really tough to get an approval to make that sort of deal.
Well, thank you very much. I think we've kind of reached the end of the time allotted for this panel. So unfortunately, I would like to carry on. I think we could probably talk all morning, but we have to leave it at that. So I'd really like to thank all the panelists for joining us and sharing their insights. I think it's been a fantastic opportunity to hear from them. So George, Maggie, Greg, and Peter, thank you very much, and good luck with all your endeavors.
Thank you, Trium.
Thank you so much.